So this is the patch I'm going to do today. You might notice I've already put some plasterboard on the wood lintel there. That's because plaster doesn't stick to wood, so I've had to cover it with some plasterboard. I'm going to now PVA that wall because it's quite a high suction, so the PVA cuts down on suction and helps the plaster stick to the wall. PVA mixed at 1:1. Some people can mix it at 2:1, but I generally mix it at 1:1 and paint it onto the bricks and to the edges so that the plaster sets naturally rather than sucked out the moisture from the bricks that have been up for hundreds of years before. Okay, so I don't often get to do videos for students or do real work, shall we say. So I've mixed this PVA up here. As I said, it's 1:1. Make sure you get it all over around the edges because this is old lime mortar, so there's a heck of a lot of suction in it and you need to get it everywhere, else it'll have different sets if you don't get it even all over the place. So I've knocked off all the loose and what's left on is quite solid. And it's been up well over 100 years as this house, so it's had a lot of time to dry out, so it's really dry. So I'm just giving it a really good coating here, ably assisted by my videographer Noah. There he is.
Hello.
Okay, so we let that, we don't plaster straight onto PVA as it's running. We have to wait for it to start to set and go tacky, because the tackiness sticks the plaster to the wall. The PVA cuts down the suction. It also helps the plaster stick to the wall. So if we plastered onto runny PVA like this, the plaster would slide off. So we have to wait for it to suck in a little bit, to dry a little bit before we can put the plaster on. Okay, so next I'm going to show you how to mix some plaster up and then how to put it on the wall. Right, so we're ready for mixing now, and what plaster we're going to use for plastering this patch is a bonding coat. It's the only type of undercoat plaster you can really use for patching up onto old brick and stone work. It's really self-explanatory what you use. The biggest thing that students fall down on is mixed amounts. So all the information that you get for plaster is always on the back of the bag. You just want to look at this now here. It tells you how thick it goes on, how many coats, how many square metres per bag, how long it takes to set, how much water to put in per bag and how you apply it. And it's for low suction backgrounds with a little mechanical key. So that means it can go onto the brick surface that we're on. So how do we know how much plaster we need to mix? If a bag covers 2.75 metres square at 11mm thick, on that patch, I would say we've just got less than half a metre. So if that's 14 litres of water for a bag, 7 litres for half a bag is 1.4 square metres. So 3 litres of water will do 0.7 of a metre. So we don't want a lot of water. And this is where students fall down, is that they fill the bucket half full of water and mix half a bag of stuff, it's all gone to waste. The trick with plastering is mix little amounts often, or mix less than what you need. You can always mix some more, because if you mix a bag full that covers 2.75 metres square and you're going to do half a metre, you're going to waste it. So if you go to another job, you have to buy some more. Okay, if you save it, you can go on to your next job. Okay, so mix in little amounts is the key. You can always mix a little bit more. Okay, it's got a 2-hour setting time as this, but setting time is different to working time. Working time means how long you can use to spread it. Setting time means it's set, then you can allow to put another layer on. So what we're going to do is we're going to mix it up. We always have to use clean, drinkable grade water, so it's not out of a river, not out of a beck, it's got to be out of the tap, and your buckets have got to be clean. Okay, and then always add your powder to your water. and mix it to a consistency. You're looking for a consistency of around porridge, thick custard, something like that. You'll get your own analogy of it, what sort of a mixture of consistency is when you see it. Okay, we'll see you in a minute. Right, so I've added my powder to the bucket, and I've got it to a consistency. I wasn't going to show you mixing because it's quite noisy as a whisk. So I wanted to show you the consistency. So as you can see, it's quite a gloopy mixture. When you get it to the right consistency, you must scrape round your bucket. It's really important. You don't want any dry bits round your bucket. Get rid of them, wipe them off, and then you whisk it up. Now, I'm using a whisk. Most plasterers have whisks these days, but it's quite hard to mix up plaster without. If you're just doing a one-off job, I would invest in a stick. It's quite hard to use a stick, but you won't want to invest 200 odd quid in a whisk to do a little bit of mixing. Some people have attachments for household drills. Yes, they're great, but just be careful with those because a household drill spins a heck of a lot quicker than one of these does, which then it could accelerate the set of your plaster. So just be very, very careful with that. But I would use a stick because then you can get used to the consistency that you're mixing it at, and make sure you get right down into the bottom and get all the hard bits from down in the bottom. So I'm just going to finish this off and then I'm going to put it on the wall. Right, cool. So I've got some on my board now. I'm going to put it onto the wall. Always start at the top and work down and work into your edges. So this is the bit where some people say you make it look so easy, but I tell you, it's practice. Always practice is this. Work up to your edges. And keep your edges clean. That's the important thing, is keep your edges as clean as you can. Ready?
Yeah.
So as you can see, I've got this wall plastered now. This next bit is probably one of the most important parts. It's what makes a good job or a bad job. When I'm doing patching, I always ask the customer, are they going to paint or are they going to paper the wall? And that makes a heck of a difference, because if they're going to paint the wall, I would probably then PVA the whole wall and skim the whole wall so it all looks as one. Whereas if they're going to paper it, I can patch it up and then the lining paper will cover up the patch. Because it's really, really difficult to plaster a patch and not see it through paint when you've painted it. So this makes the difference if you're asking a customer, are you patching, are you papering or painting? But if you're just patching it up, this section here, I would probably leave that as it is, because I would PVA this top bit here and skim the whole lot from this side. So I will leave that there. But this other bit round here, what I'm going to do, if you just want to come up a bit now so you can see, these edges of the existing plaster are now flush with the new plaster. There's no edge for the skim to fit to. So what you must do is create an edge now so that the skimming sticks to something. Skimming is put on around 2 to 3 millimeters. So you need an edge of 2 to 3 millimeters around here. Most people would leave that and just skim it, and then what they'd end up with is a ridge here, and that makes a patch look terrible. But what you should do is you should get your gauging trowel and you should cut it back to the edge, just a couple of mil, so that when you come to skim it, you've then got an edge for your skim to stick to. And you'll see it tomorrow when I come to finish the plaster. I'm not going to plaster this today because it's going to be too wet. I'm going to skim it tomorrow. You can skim it the same day, but you'll be hanging around for 2 or 3 hours waiting for it to set properly, and then that's not really good time management, is it? So as you can see, there's a ridge here now that I can stick my skim to. And I've gone right along and done it. I've left this side because I'm going to skim right up into the corner, so that's a nice flush edge for my plaster to go over. The rest of it needs an edge to work to. Okay? on the skin.